Hello everyone, this is Sam speaking here, formerly known as British Lebanese on Twitter, ITSilverSpoon, Beirut Politics, Gaddafi Global, and of course Lebanese Tips. I'm going to give you the recording now of what I tried to broadcast this week. Here we go. We go silent. I recorded it, the audio live, even though it wasn't successful when I done it face to face. So I'm going to put the music up, the sound up now.
Known as British Lebanese on Twitter, which was my main platform via my journey as a Twitter account, along with ITSilverSpoon. And what a journey it has been. Remarkable, extraordinary, by every meaning of the word, journey. So this podcast will be just going over roughly since 2009, I think was the earliest I opened accounts for a couple of reasons. And those reasons unfortunately still exist, but have shot right up to a level of unbelievable, excuse me, to use the right word, extraordinary experience. It's an amazing tool, isn't it? Twitter, a very powerful platform of information, almost instant information, of news, of the geopolitical world, access to a global spectrum of information and news, which we've never been privileged to before. And this experience of being inquisitive here, living here in London's Islington since 1973, where I was about 3-4 years old when I came here. And the journey involved being inquisitive, wanting to find out what's happening out there in the world, being like seeking information, hunger for information, news coming from such a popular country known throughout the world. Sitting on the like a Quattro Camino type of border between the East and the West, coming from a country like that, where the two main powers, debatably more perhaps, essentially probably one power, and the leftovers that have been overtaken by the cult, as I understand to be. Without going too much into that part of it, I'm a bit of a philosophical person that I've come to be. I used to be in my early 20s. Used to be the mainstream media news reader. The Independent newspaper was my first paper that I was recommended to read when I was at college doing the diploma in office procedures. After taking some good sound advice from a man I met who was Lebanese also, to my shock, in the early 80s, to find a Lebanese person here in London. And he was at the time studying 7 years a profession, and later became a pivotal part of my life and how my career moved forward from then on. And I've had loads of jobs. I've been I've had several jobs in the office world, and I've moved along my career path and come to find the qualities and skills that I have, and use them to advance into the career that I moved. And most of it has been in IT for about 27 years. I've run a job club in Fulham and Chelsea, here in London, as the job club leader for the employment service, where I was learning to rehabilitate ex-offenders back into the working environment, into a job, or going back into enhance their skills and do a course to use as a stepping stone to get back into the working environment. And that was my initial early days job. And it was a very interesting story at a later time. I believe it was in the days where Michael had Home Secretary or Foreign Secretary at the time. And I moved on, and because of manufacturers' days where our unions were taken away and job security was no longer job for life as we knew it. And so my career path as a foreign British Lebanese Londoner, going through the jobs, has been less privileged, probably because of where I come from. I remember the Lebanese man who was studying here said to me after he finished studying and had, interestingly, the highest results in England and Ireland in his exams in that profession, and showed me the certificate, so I was very proud of him. And he said to me, Sam, working in London, there will always be a level of a gap between you and the employer, in terms of their own people. And that stuck in me. And from that moment onward, he said to me, Sam, I'm going back to where my country needs me more and will appreciate me more. And so he did. And to cut a long story short, many years along the line, down the path, I went out to Lebanon and met him there, and he greeted me. And I come from Tripoli, he comes from another part of Lebanon. And I looked at the television one day on holiday, and I see a man with a beard, a holy man, and he had the same surname as him. and I just rang him up. I was staying in Juna at the time, in the, I think it was the Acropolis Hotel. I rang him up. I said, I see someone on television who had your surname. I thought you might be related to him. He said, who was it? I said, he's the, I told him the name, and he said to me that that was his cousin or uncle. And it turned out that he was Lebanon's #1 Maronite leader. So it's a very extraordinary experience, what I deem as an excellent example of a British Lebanese in my career. It gave me good advice and brought me to the stage where I had been up until 2000 and well, gosh, and the world changed here in London anyway, so as we know it, and it never went back from then. A little bit nervous here, as you probably could observe. I'm talking about a case where eventually I'm trying to give you at the moment just a background as to my career path and who I am as the Twitter account British Lebanese, and the experiences that I had that later had an impact on my life in the most extreme way, which led on to me going on hunger strike for 17 days. In actual fact, actually longer than that. I remember it could even be 18 or maybe a little around that, because certainly the day before I was arrested, I hadn't eaten. So it's important at this point that I tell you about that journey on Twitter, because I interacted with some. My account became popular because I had interacted with a billionaire here in a coffee shop in London. Sadly, I'm going to say it was Starbucks, which I don't go to anymore. Rarely do. They had that niche in the market where their coffee was the cheapest among them. Sad to say, my morals have enhanced since then. But happy to say my morals have enhanced since then, and I kind of you'll find me remembering things through my path of discussing this, where I will divert into digress into another subject, and there are so many things on my mind in which the way I have to express it, given the algorithms that we're up against here, this side of the world, new terminologies of how you have to express yourself, and new laws, new cyber laws, essentially, that many of us are not been educated to. Massive chunk of us have not been educated to talk in the etiquette of formality when you're broadcasting, and the legal implications and so on. So, as a British Lebanese Londoner, my Cockney accent among me being straightforward and talking to you as it is, and you won't find me putting on an act. I'm not that type of artificial person who present themselves in a materialistic fashion. And so where I think I came to a point where I broke down in my life, going through an eviction that was an illegal eviction. It was an eviction where my local council were found to have been guilty to have made me homeless, and so therefore they were obligated to rehouse me. But it had massive complications in it. At this point, I'm going to say to the public, where you'll probably find me more relative to be noted among my interaction with the billionaire, which subsequently produced front page headlines. I'll mention it through this podcast, through the set of podcasts that I'll be doing from now on. Today is the introduction of who British Lebanese is, me, my Twitter account. And I mentioned this before, but isn't it interesting that I managed to get the British Lebanese Twitter account before the Lebanese embassy here in London? It's not an ill gate. So you guys were a bit slow on that, wasn't you? Addressing the government or the representative of the government here in London. And you made that obvious through your other charity organisation, British Lebanese organisation, which would have been so appropriate for you. But I guess we live and learn in how embassies conduct themselves, and the importance of I, as a British Lebanese expat who left the motherland a long time ago, and have enough empathy in me to feel that I could contribute to the Lebanese community in terms of going through my presidential case and updating them with what happened to me. I think it's important, not just the Lebanese community, expats, full stop, expats of indigenous countries, destitute countries, countries that are going through immigration here on a mass scale everywhere. So it's massive. Everything that involves the world's refugee crisis will have a significant impact on the new laws that have come in, what I've experienced. It's not my presidential case. I'm not the first person to have experienced what I went through. There have been similar cases, not in a presidential scale. So this case is a presidential case, as quoted by an official of the Lebanese embassy here in London. It's not an okay. At this point, I'll name him. His name is Ali Banout. It's not the first time that I haven't named his name on social media here, in Twitter, in Facebook, here, lately in Facebook. This Twitter account, this Facebook account that I have here is called the LebaneseTips. I use it as a charity here, as a platform for charity, as part of a hobby, and also researching that I've been doing on the tip service providers out there. And as a result, I've launched a Twitter account called the Lebanese Tips during my time of having BritishLebanese and ITSilverSpoon and Beirut College. And I suppose I'll touch on I have to stay focused. It's so difficult. It is a complex case. It is important that I tell you what happened and the reason why that it's important. And you'll see me in my body language being impacted, and I can't help somehow possibly raising my voice during this podcast, so you be aware of that. And I know that there'll be people on this podcast from all levels of both local government here in London, London's Islington, and out in Lebanon. I've been my BritishLebanese Twitter account and my ITSilverSpoon by very, very high people, very high profile people in government. And one of the questions I beg to ask is, why me? Why me? You know, I mean, I'm a former Hewlett-Packard employee, permanent employee, what is permanent these days. I got made redundant in what was deemed as the recession here in London, and that was approximately in 2008, where all the IT companies were gobbling up all the other IT companies, and I reached that level from having no qualifications initially, no real qualifications, and to reach one of the top 10 companies to work for in the world is a result. I consider it a result. And to be working in one of the most sensitive accounts for Hewlett-Packard in London's Canary Wharf, which is an American stockbroker and financial advisor company, who had been nominated by Forbes magazine as best trainers, as best employers in the banking sector, well, gambling sector really, isn't it? In the stockbroker world and the financial advising world. So I've rubbed shoulders with some of your finest stockbrokers in the country. I've worked with them. I've slept in their houses. I've drank with them and the hedge fund managers. And even the hedge fund managers talk as cockney as I do. So don't be estranged to that class, that segment where we use our culture in expressing ourselves here in London. There's not many cockneys speaking London, British Lebanese Londoners out there. But I'm an old school, and I'm an old school for many reasons. One of them being probably noted by you, as I was saying earlier, I got distracted, is that I'm the school classmate of King Robbo. You would know him as King Robbo, the world's pioneer graffiti artist, the founding father of graffiti art, otherwise known, I don't know, they were known as street art, where John Robertson was my school classmate, and who you're probably looking at the first person amongst our teacher, Mr. Newton, the first person who predicted that he was going to be famous artist. And indeed he was. And he went everywhere. He even went to Palestine and performed his art on the walls of Palestine, the prison walls of Palestine. I hope I'm still recording. These algorithms of the wordings that I'll be using will be hitting so much. I am an outspoken member of the propaganda machine out there, and have been for over a decade. Many of you will have come across the British Lebanese Twitter account, certainly the anti-cult people and the cult lovers will know my account, or probably blocked my account. So you will find a lot of reports through the algorithms of Twitter and social media of violations of this and violations of that regulation, and all the other new ones that come up with the laws that are becoming global, as they call it these days, in this new world order. And so my popularity will be has been contested out there by a lot of plants and tools. And what are plants and tools? These are paid Twitter accounts from movements and organisations and that are funded from all sorts of dodgy movements and politically affiliated propaganda bullshit out there. So it's been a rocky ride in the account. I've spoken to. I've had several politicians follow me from here, who have later become politicians out in Lebanon, out in America. I've had a former Congresswoman, Cynthia McKinley. I've interacted with people like Minister Farrakhan, who sent a message to Lebanon via the British Lebanese Twitter account, which I populated, which is now suspended. Different people, but I'll come back to that. I've just had a brain frame. Yeah, I'll come back to that. This all life stuff here. Couple of main reasons. One was going through. And the bar system, the legal justice system here in London or England, which resonates out to a lot of countries where the lawyers are part of that. Then the law, the British law, will be familiar to that. In England, what the people living out in Lebanon have failed to observe is that here in this country, the legal aid system, which is a system where it's allegedly a free, paid for by us. When they say free, when they tell you that we get benefits free, it's a complete misconception. It's a false representation of the fact. I was talking to former colonel of Lebanon, now general of Lebanon, in a phone call I received on behalf of the then president. And from this, then I'll catch you and I'll move back to accounts. He seemed to be misinformed of the system from my discussion with him. But it's a myth to assume or to be judgmental, to conclude that these are free, these benefits are free, these rights that we're entitled to them, there are processes and procedures, and that they are free. First of all, we live in a more democratic state than the third world alleged, not alleged, how they label them, the third world countries, and yes, we do have that ecosystem. But come 2000, April 2002, April 2012, government here in England handed down government powers to the local government. And who are the local government? The MPs, members of parliament, who we are and they are obligated to them. They have a duty to us, as do the lawyers and solicitors and judges. That obligation is a duty to us, the public, and Her Majesty the Queen of England. And so we pay tax for that service in the same way as we pay tax to have the dustmen come and collect. It's been stripped from funding. It's been in a massive way, in a mass scale, and that has caused an impact on the crime rate and the social communities across the world, not just here in England. And so the privileges that we had here in England, take them out of your head. They are no longer what we used to believe. I remember we used to be proud here in England, in Great Britain, or however you want to give it the name. We used to have Made in England, and we used to be proud of that. And that label used to be a label from which we could be certain that it was a guaranteed good quality product, and we resonated across the world with that name. It is no longer there. They sold Rover and they chewed everything out and spat it and kept them in, and that's it. And so, where 2012 came in, and the government handed their powers to local government, and that is to say MPs who have absolutely no experience in governing, because that role was for the government, was just handed down to them. And there's where it went downhill. I come to find that in an email, in a letter from my constituency here in London's Islington, where I was communicating with the formerly disgraced MP, British MP, Emily Thornberry, who incidentally, and I'm quoted this on social media, had arrived here in Islington on the same week to in Islington. Her and her husband, her judge husband, at the same time as Tony and his wife. Same week. Interesting that. At that point, I'm going to continue on that path and say at the point where I had met the former MP prior to her taking over. She was selected for the post here in Islington. Not elected, selected. And the reason why, because Chris Smith, then Chris Smith, I think he was Baron Chris Smith at the time. I'm not too sure, he will have to forgive me. It might be a Lord, but certainly he was up there in the ranking, who I've met, and lucky to have met as well, who came to my house with his people, his bodyguard. We sat down and we discussed an early age in my life, and I am also known as, in my area, as the head by the housing manager at the time, as the youngest representative of the committee meeting of my local estate. And to be that person, I was in the country, the youngest person to take that role on. And that was an interesting, so you can observe, I'm 52 now, you can observe, I was an active member of my community at such a tender age. And so that should give some kind of like, show some kind of image that I was a keen member of, had some kind of empathy, and I still do to the community and to my people, and to all the people who've gone through stages where you've had to leave your country because of invaders and occupiers who want to come over and strip you from your country's wealth. And I recall, I'm going to say this, I recall one day talking to a local here in a local underground station, and he was selling stuff on the stall. We were discussing about how the war is happening, and I was saying I was anti-war, and how we are going around taking up oil, gas, and he seemed to think that if we didn't do that, we won't be able to get all the benefits that we do here. And so how disillusioned is this person, I thought to myself. And these are the places in the London's undergrounds where they give out free newspapers and stand there in front of you in what is known as to be London's undergrounds. A massive amount of people commute through them. Many years ago, when King Robbo was performing his art on the underground and the trains, I was baffled why he would do such a thing. But the reason why was because there was millions of people going to see that artwork that he had. And it was that moment where he had ensured that he had maximum coverage over that. This is where Banksy, not known by, Banksy, let's face it, we're not kids here now. We were then. But Banksy is a stencil artist, isn't he? Yeah, that's how I understand Banksy. Banksy was allegedly using art, which me and you, most of the people out there, was learning when we were kids, using stencils. Anybody could use stencils. But John Robertson, otherwise known as King Robbo, and you'll have to look him up. Channel 4 News done a documentary on him called Graffiti Wars, and it was an award-winning documentary. Go through it, because I'll be talking about that in my later podcasts and going through quite some breaking news, certainly breaking news in the art world. Without a shadow of a doubt, the graffiti world in the street art. And it will include names, big names who are directly working with the Saudi Arabian monarchy, who I have been in Twitter contact with as well. And for some reason, George Galloway seems to deny the tweets, but they were evident, and I've got the evidence to prove it. And so I will talk about that at a later stage, and I might call it, address it as King Robbo and Banksy. So Banksy is a stencil artist who used to come over and paint over his artwork. And I guess I'm still on track talking about my career path as I grew up here as a British Lebanese here in London's Islington. Islington, where it's top 10 highest Jewish communities in England, where most of I keep saying this on my Facebook, where most of the prime ministers lived in Islington. And that's an interesting fact. And so we lived here. I mean, I later went to a secondary school, which you will all probably know, not the school, but the school that sang it. And that was the Pink Floyd's The Wall. So on the front album, where you see the Floyd album, all the kids there who sang there, who sang on that album were from my school, a few years above my year. Certainly when we went to the secondary school, which was from 11 onwards, they had left, and they came in and they started this new thing called the Sixth Form Centre, and they used to come in as prefects. And so a little bit of background from there. I've spoken to people on Twitter like Julian Assange's mother. So I say spoken, it's a misphrase really. It's a tweets. And I've been blocked by her because I'm not too particularly fully confident about the orchestrated events that have been happening with it, and I presented my views. And I'm going to right now go into how this billionaire started interacting with me on Twitter, and it subsequently hit front page headlines, international scale. I was going through this eviction, and through the eviction, which needs in itself time to go through the intricacies and the anomalies. I had a judge who had so many complaints on him. This is from a court called the Clerkenwell Court here in Islington, civil court or eviction court. This judge had had numerous requests for Freedom of Information Act on him, and it was delayed and delayed and delayed and denied eventually because so many people have been complaining. I'll make sure I'm recording right now because I'm certainly recording this on audio so that I'll be able to put the audio transcript to this video at a later point if I'm not recording, because I know I'll be hitting algorithms and I'm not prepared to turn myself before I go into how His Excellency, the former Prime Minister of Lebanon, was interacting with me. Just want to see whether I'm going live. I've had so many stops on my live broadcasts that it's been a shame. It's been a shame that I've lost a lot. I have spoken some podcasts. Okay, tested. Okay, I can hear myself. So I was sitting in this coffee shop. I'm trying. It's a complex case. It's a complex case. I never want to do this live podcast. So I'm telling you right now, and I invite officials. This is your moment. This is your moment now. You can stop this podcast from moving forward. I don't want to go with live broadcast. This is not a show. I don't want to expose my findings. But when your lawyer tells you, and I quote, "Sam, I urge you to inform the public of your findings," unquote. Words towards that effect, more or less. And I needed clarity from this lawyer, who I was subjected to employ, who was a specific lawyer who specialized in a profession which was totally unfounded to have subjected me to a position where I have to resort to cornered to use this lawyer. Not only this lawyer, these legal aid lawyers here. You know, and talking of lawyers, I used to date a lawyer for 5.5 years of my life. So if anyone out there wanna question my faculties, I'm a former Hewlett-Packard employee, and if you work for organisations like Goldman Sachs, Unilever, you know, I was working in Deloitte and Touche here in London's EC4 in Stonecutter Street, and working in places like this. I was also in ING Wholesale Bank, working in their IT section here in the City of London. When you have here in the City of London, when you have that path, targeting, duty to you to help you, let alone the lawyers. Let's bring you to this pivotal point here. An MP, as my understanding, there is no remit as a British, English, however you word it. Remember, and so therefore, when I'm being helped, allegedly, by MP, and I am flagging down legitimate information, I had the same lawyer in my eviction. I had possessions of King Robbo from my childhood. I had furniture. I had lifetime things you accumulate when you grow up, like a simple photo album or your furniture, everything you've grown up with, souvenirs, trophies you won, awards you won. Everything was to be put in storage by my local council, Islington Council. Whilst I was being allegedly by my peer, Emily Thornberry, I'm a taxpayer, and I'm talking to you, the public. And the reason why I'm talking to you is because my lawyer told me, I have to tell you. She said to me, Sam, I urge you to inform the public of your finding. And that question lingers in my mind and baffles me to ask and throw that forth. You the intellectuals, you those rats out there who have been not you those rats, because I'm banned from contacting certain people and I have to be careful on what I say. But it is you, the public, I'm talking to, because it's advice that was given to me to do that. So anyone who tries to stop this video, anyone who tries to bring down, I'll point you out. And they will try to do it. Police and CID who are monitoring my timeline, including the Chief Raj, who is the chief in command in charge of both Islington and Camden Police Station. They're all monitoring it, and they have been monitoring all. And I've had my account shut down. I have had my voice silenced. I have had crucial information, history where these Twitter accounts have been exposing this information. But now, because they're banned, they are certainly obtainable. Some of your countries out there won't be able to do easy searches on Twitter because some isn't legally allowed to be in your country for all sorts of legal reasons. So it'll be difficult. But someone who knows what they're doing, an investigative journalist or a detective, will be able to obtain all that information. And I have a lot of evidence that's saved different places for my safety I just want to say at this moment, the phone call I received from Babda Palace is recorded for my safety. My safety. I thought forward and I thought I have to do this. Contrary to anyone out there who have decided that I shouldn't be entitled to my rights because I went against your wishes. And at this point, I'm going to say to you, I'm addressing you, the former First Consul of the Lebanese Embassy here in London, Hazem Abdul Samad, who I've met along with Ali Bannout. Yeah, you see me now, don't you? You see me here. I never wanted to do this. I'm not a nasty person. I have changed through the experiences that I've had. I've burnt a lot of bridges through the deliberations of your failures, through the violations of embassy protocols. I'm very passionate in my experience. They'll all be monitoring me, including you so-called profession where you had detained me and you're a joke. I'm sorry. Well, I'm not sorry. I am sorry the fact that you are representing the public for the alleged position that you have, and you have failed miserably. I address you, those who have detained me, and the professionals who have detained me. I address you, all of you. You will never in your life come across a hunger striker who told you ultimately the reason why they detained me. And I have confessions, but that to be true. You know, I'm going to remind the public here. I'm an RT professional and have got 26 years background in the IT sector, a very fast moving industry where we have updates all the time, and we have to think in a methodology. We have to think chronologically. So when we should, it has to be 100%. Has to be accurate. If you leave a full stop or a comma or anything that's not what it should be, computer says no. And I challenge your professions out there and ridicule you in my findings that our troubleshooting processes in IT elevate your processes in you back to that one sentence which my lawyer told me. Sam, quote, Sam, I urge you to inform the public of your findings. Quote. I don't care what you say, I don't care what paper you want to read from Met Police who have a endemic ability continuously fail to capture information and relay it on documentations and reports. Endemic ability to fail repetitively. And you've got that history there. We know it. But there are people out there who are green, gullible, and those gullible people, you are the masses. You are an empty, sadly to say. And empty, sadly to say. Is to defend them motherland in the way that I thought interacting with all the people that I've interacted with, and while I'm at it, I'm going to say I'm the sort of person that if I want something, yeah, if I can't get it off of procedure, I want to speak to the manager. And the senior, and if need be, I want to reach the CEO because I'm not going to mess around with the small fish. I'm a person who deals with bottlenecks effectively in my career path. And I was pulled aside by what my former Hewlett-Packard area manager once. He gave me an award. The Hewlett-Packard customer service excellence bronze award. But award is essential. Pull me aside just to tell me, Sam, that people have been working for 30 years have received um, uh, and keep it. So I understood, and as a result, I've got an award to. Luckily, I had it. It hasn't been taken by the council, whereby they promised me to put it in storage. All my property, lifetime property, everything. I had just a few items left. Put it all in one place. My involved in trying to diffuse this for the love of my motherland and of having to have left the, left my country and not to have fought with them because I left too young and I'm the only son and I'm not required to join the army. But I felt I owed to put the records straight. As part of me exposing my presidential case, my eviction through Islington Council and all their evil, wicked, targeted team of electric army, you know, the ones that go on and meant to track your uh, social media activity. And so this is essential. You will realize at this point, yeah, I've been pushed to uh, to the limit of having to uh, tell my presidential case. What I don't want to do is maliciously attack any government international capacity. But what I have done is exactly that with my tweeting, sometimes cross the red line because of things that have happened, for example, phone calls that I've made, recorded to the Lebanese embassy here in London. I've got a lot to say about the ranking the failures in the ranking to be respected in the manner it should, in the dignity that it should be respected. But you've had your opportunity, so really really, quite frankly, I've burned a lot of bridges, and I've got to the point where uh, um, it's not my choice, is it? It's a legal request from my lawyer. Um, I have to do it. Um, I am in danger of I'm currently in danger of being subjected to a, a system, a legal system now that uh, I've been exposed to. Um, but the game is up. I've got all, all the information I need to go through that path of seeking accountability. I just need a lawyer. I mean, I just want this to court case. Um, the judge, I need a lawyer with balls, with the greatest respect to uh, uh, without sounding uh, discrimination of any gender. But this terminology is a British Lebanese cockney terminology. It's actually a British cockney terminology. We speak to here without uh, um, without any malice to uh, offense or thing. There is a one. I mean, you try. You try and look it up. Or was the position Queen's Council? Looking up Queen's Council, Google it. Try to find what's the name. I bet you could count them on your hand. the names of people, us, us, us British Lebanese, us Lebanese people, we tend to identify names quite well. Am I still recording? I've done 1 hour or 30 minutes. Your connection is unstable. We have the ability to identify names of different sects. Accents, facial complex, um, we can see us expats. We can see uh, what other countries can't geopolitically see. Only because we come from that part of the world. So whatever we say as expats,